if you gave me Mahomes, if you gave me Lamar Jackson with his great legs and Mahomes' great arm, or you gave me Baker Mayfield, who would I want? I would want Baker Mayfield, and the reason why is because Baker Mayfield.
I really think that now this is the worst case scenario for the San Francisco 49ers, is that they're going to have to cut ties with Jimmy Garoppolo if I were them. What? Oh my God! Whoa, man!
In any event, Kyle Gibson is definitely my NL Cy Young Award winner. Rock on, Gibby. And even
no way!
Oh my God!
A pleasant good evening to you, everybody out there, wherever you may be, and welcome to Sports Weekly, along with Ben Kurse and Isaiah Leong. My name is Lauro Antonio. Hope everybody had a great day here. I mean, we're already in May here, and got a lot of good stuff coming up with the NBA playoffs, and also baseball is still in full swing, and we got NFL football stuff to be talking about here tonight. So, fellas, how you guys doing?
Happy May to all of you guys out there that are watching. It's been crazy in the world of sports, especially the weekend with the NFL draft, the Game 7 Warriors and Kings, and it's just been a really epic sports weekend. And I know it's going to get even crazier and crazier with, Lakers, Warriors, hockey playoffs, all of that. So, I mean, it's a great time to be a sports fan right now. And the only disappointment I would say from the NFL draft was really no big trades. But other than that, it was a really crazy weekend. And I want to give a shout out to the Seattle Kraken for knocking off the defending champion Colorado Avalanche, winning their first series, and it was against the Stanley Cup defending champs. I watched that Game 7. It was a really epic back-and-forth Game 7. I'm glad the Kraken ended up on the right side of it, but I don't know who the Kraken will play next, but it's going to be a tough opponent, and, Seattle winning the Cup in year number 2 is not crazy after all.
How are you doing? How's it going tonight?
Could be better. That's all I can say.
All right, we're going to start with some NHL hockey as the 8-seeded Florida Panthers upsetted the Boston Bruins in overtime in Game 7. The Boston Bruins are one of these teams that were favored to win the Stanley Cup. This team had a lot of promise. Now that, you got a good young goaltender, the pass is torched to Pasternak and Krejci as the captains of the team, Ben. What was your thoughts on that series? And I know that one of the games in that series, the Bruins should have won at least Game 5 or Game 6.
Oh, man. I don't know what to say. I'm going to go on a little tangent. I was thinking about this before coming on the air tonight. And I could say this, and I'm not trying to say this in a spoiled fashion, but this might be for myself, these last 2 weeks, the most heartbreak I've ever felt as a Boston sports fan. And I might be over-exaggerating a little bit. But, and I've seen it, and I get it, people would say, oh, you're spoiled, this, that. You've seen, I don't know, Boston now, since 2000, they've had 12 championships. That's one of the most, that's in the top in terms of most championship ever. But don't also tell me that I haven't seen heartbreak. It's part of being a fan. And I guess I have to mostly kind of see that side of it. I've seen 07, the Patriots Super Bowl against the Giants, the undefeated. This is close to it. And obviously the Celtics losing tonight does not feel at all. The fact that the 2023 Boston Red Sox are saving me right now in the year 2023, when these other two teams were title favorites, I don't know what world I'm living in right now. don't know what world I'm living in right now. So like I said, Lauro, the vibes could be better for me. I really took it to heart last night on Facebook. I don't know if you guys were watching it. If you guys did, I appreciate it. It's been a rough couple days. So in terms of the series, though, wow, it's hard to swallow. This team had a lot of good things for the regular season. A team where every night I can go in and watch this team and just absolutely feel happy and feel hopeless and pretty much just enjoy the ride. Going on my birthday was a big thing because tickets for Boston Bruins games were not easy to get this year. This team was just on an absolute wild ride, and for it to basically go in flames and not mean anything really hurts. It really, really hurts. Just the fact that this series you're up 3-1, your captain Patrice Bergeron comes back. I'm like 3-1. There's no way. But Bruins and Celtics, they do it to me every year, and it's crazy to think. That the fact is a lot of the world was against the Bruins last night. Everybody was rooting for the underdog, and I get it because they realize how lucky I've been and how lucky Boston teams have been, and people feel that we're spoiled and everything like that. But this one's gonna sting for a while, as I said last night. It's just really hard to comprehend. Game 5, Marchand breakaway, Bobrovsky came up big. OT winner by Kachuk. Game 6, Omar and company defense sloppy. Going to Game 7, anything for the marbles. A minute left to go to play next game, and it didn't happen. Game time goal. The Panthers were just a resilient group. They fought. They really had our number this year through the regular season, but it was just really hard to comprehend. It really was just quite something. And I know we'll talk about the Celtics Sixers later, but the onion in that game, obviously the Trae Young, that winner that he had a couple days ago before then, it's almost like TD Garden, Gillette Stadium, something ever since Tom Brady left, and I don't know, Laura, if you felt this, but ever since Tom Brady left, it feels like we're just cursed now. I don't know if it's karma for what's happened through Boston sports. But I'm going to take the punches as it is. But it's been, and part of my language, a pretty fucking shitty last couple days for me. So, but with that being said, I tip my cap to Florida. They earned it. The second half of that series, we didn't play to our standards at all. We still had chances to win. Well, of course we did. We were over a minute in Game 7. All we just had to do is go down, clear the puck, get to the empty net, and it's it. But I just don't know how to comprehend it. I really, really don't. So, it's crazy because the President's Trophy curse is really real. The fact that this Boston Bruins team, the most wins in NHL history, couldn't even get past it. It says a lot. It's a team I love. It's a team I care about. And now it's kind of the uncertain, like Laura, as you said, Patrice Bergeron. This could potentially be it for one of the greatest, not only the greatest Bruins to ever do it, but one of the greatest Boston athletes to ever be a part of. David Krejci came back after this past year, wanted to play one more year. Everybody wanted that 1 year left for another run at the Cup. They're coming back. They look at this situation right now, and I know people are texting me, telling me how I'm feeling, and I pretty much told them all, not doing good. So it was in top 5 for sure. One of the worst feelings I've ever had last night, and I'm not even exaggerating.
Anyways, we're going to move on from this topic here. We're going to talk about the NFL since our friend Stephen Wang is going to come and talk some football and basketball with us here. But we're going to start with what are the surprising picks of the first round of the 23 NFL draft. I'm going to go first. I thought Anthony Richardson going to the Colts at 4. Did anybody expect that? Not necessarily. But here's how I put it. I think Anthony Richardson is going to be the Colts version of Jalen Hurts. And I say that because Nick Sirianni has a running quarterback that fits his system well. And Shane Steichen, who served as offensive coordinator for Jalen Hurts, he really can implement those things that he used with Jalen Hurts with Anthony Richardson. You're not going to expect Gardner Minshew to start at quarterback for the Colts come week 1. Anthony Richardson is going to come in, he's going to do his job, and he is going to be the day 1 starter for the Colts. Same can be said with Will Levis in Tennessee, and the same can be said with C.J. Stroud in Houston, and the same can be said with Bryce Young in Carolina. That's how I define it. Anthony Richardson, I think he has the potential to be a very good quarterback in this league. He has a chance to be Jalen Hurts good. That is my opinion on him. I think he's a guy that can scramble out of the pocket. He's a guy that I think that he's coming in the right situation because I think the Colts have the offensive line to protect Anthony Richardson. He has the weapons such as Michael Pittman. Jonathan Taylor could really help him out with the running game. Anthony Richardson doesn't have to worry about running a lot because a healthy Jonathan Taylor, and then you get a number 2 back to complement Jonathan Taylor, is going to help the Colts even better on the offensive side of the football. Before I get to Ben and Isaiah's thoughts on this, and I do feel that Anthony Richardson's going to be great in the NFL. I think that because I think that now that he's a Colt, he's coming into a really good situation. So is Stroud in Houston. So is Will Levis in Tennessee. I think that he's going to knock off Ryan Tannehill for the job. But anyways, Isaiah, I'm going to get to you. I mean, I said my surprising pick. I said something about Anthony Richardson being the surprise pick at number 4 to the Colts, even though I wanted Will Levis just because I felt like Levis could fit the system. I felt like Steichen could have used the things he used with Herbert on Levis, but I do think that Steichen will use the things that he used with Hurts back in Philly with Anthony Richardson, and I expect Anthony Richardson to do a great job. I expect him to be great in Indy. And the same can be said with Will Levis in Tennessee, C.J. Stroud down in Houston, and then Bryce Young in Carolina.
Lauro, I think you make some good points. Anthony Richardson, I wouldn't say I was very surprised by that. I thought that when the Colts picked, it was either going to be Will Levis or it was going to be Anthony Richardson. And it makes sense because Shane Steichen, the head coach of the Colts, worked with Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia. Anthony Richardson has all the tools and the skill sets like Jalen Hurts. So it makes sense in that standpoint. If I'm the Colts, I would not start him right away just because I think he needs time to develop. I think Minshew's their starting quarter or their backup right now, but I would go out and sign a veteran just because I think you guys remember, Jalen Hurts was his first year in the league. He was all right. He wasn't dynamic.
But he was almost redshirted in his first year, though.
Yeah, he was redshirted in his first year, but he did play a couple of games late. But that's what I would do with Anthony Richardson. I don't think Anthony Richardson is going to be a star right away. I think he's going to have to take some time to develop, just like Trey Lance with the 49ers. That's why I would want the coach to look at a veteran option.
Look, they're not starting Nick Foles or Gardner Minshew. They're not
going to start them, but that's why I want them to get a veteran option. Because I think that if you start a veteran option, Anthony Richardson would have time to develop. And I think he needs that time to develop.
I kind of disagree with you on that point because, Isaiah, I do think that Anthony Richardson is going to come into camp ready to go. He's going to be the starting quarterback for the Colts come week 1. And I think he's coming into a really good situation in Indianapolis.
Well, we'll see. But, I just think for all of his tools and his skill set to shine, I think he's going to take him maybe a year or two to get those skill sets to shine. But for me, my biggest surprise pick of the first round was Witherspoon to Seattle at number 5. The corner out of, I think, Illinois, if I'm not mistaken. Devin Witherspoon, the corner. I was on break. I was on my break, and I went to the TV that we had at one of the bars at the airport, and I was actually watching that pick live, and I was like, Seattle's going to get Jalen Carter because they have been rumored to be interested in Jalen Carter for a while. They need some studs on that defensive line. They're going to get Jalen Carter. It's for sure going to happen. And when they went with Devin Witherspoon, I was basically shocked. Like I put
You
my
were going to Sports Week
hand
like,
on the
what?
man. Like that's how like shocked I was. Like I didn't expect it. Like Devin Witherspoon, we did the mock draft show like last week, and I had him in as pick number 15 or 16. So for him to go number 5, like that was for me the biggest shock, just because you could have traded down and still got this guy later on in the draft. For you to draft him at number 5, he better be a Hall of Fame player now, because when you draft guys in the top 5, you expect them to be superstars. You expect them to be future Hall of Famers, and I think Seattle just overreached for him. They could have traded down. They could have gotten more picks and still be able to get their guy at number 5. I think that, I'm not going to say it's a terrible move for the Seahawks. It's a move that I think he's going to be a solid player, but I think they just really overreached on that pick. And, for you to pick him over guys like Jalen Carter, for you to pick him over Tyree Wilson and other studs that were up there at number 5, I don't think that was the smart move to do in that situation.
All right, I'll go to Steven here. I have questions for you about CJ Stroud in Houston, but what was your surprising pick in the first round of the draft?
Yeah, so for me, I'm definitely going to go with CJ Stroud from the Ohio State University. I thought that was a really big surprise because, Ben, he dropped all the way from number 1 to a whopping number 2 after all that news about his lack of cognitive ability. And I really feel that it was a smokescreen to try and get him to drop to where the Colts were drafting or wherever who was drafting to go and scoop him up for value. Well, turns out the only value you got was him going to number 2 and Houston trading up to get him. So I think Houston saw through the smokescreen. They know that CJ Stroud, he's got that Kirk Cousins, Matt Ryan type of precision, but with just a bit more of that athletic ability. He's got a really, really bright future ahead of him. I've always seen his wind up, his release. I watch the Vikings every Sunday, the Buckeyes every Saturday, as similar to Kirk, but he's just got a bit more of that oomph to his athletic ability. So certainly a guy who can end up on the tier of Russell Wilson or Mahomes, but we can't count our chickens before they hatch. He could also be just a solid backup or starter like an Alex Smith. Now, I think the other what?
Let me make that point here, Steven. I predict that when CJ Stroud was drafted by the Houston Texans, I'm saying Case Keenum is not going to start over him. I'm saying I'm going to go with Stroud to start in Houston.
Yes, absolutely.
Because I think CJ Stroud, I think he is going to be the face of the Houston Texans franchise. I wanted to make that point to you.
Yeah, absolutely. What I mean is going forward, later on down his career.
About Case Keenum not starting.
Yeah, I was not thinking that. But moving on to the other picks, I got to agree with you that Anthony Richardson, Loro, is definitely, and he's going to be tied to my next surprising pick. But let's start with Anthony Richardson. I think he is a very high upside quarterback. He certainly could be like the next Josh Allen or Deshaun Watson, as you were kind of saying, ability-wise. But at the same time, he is a high ceiling, low floor kind of guy. He could also easily be like an RG3 caliber of a quarterback. I'm not saying they're the same type of player, but he could really drop down there as well, just because, mechanically, fundamentally, he hasn't shown that ability in college to really lead a franchise the way that CJ Stroud and Bryce Young have. So that's going to be a bit of a surprise there. And then I think the biggest shock of the draft guy was Will Levis dropping all the way to the second round, I believe. Pick number 40 to 42. That was a really, really big shocker there. And I think really what the NFL is saying to us nowadays is that, yes, the quarterback position is important. In fact, there were several prop bets out there saying, like, okay, here's the odds for all 4 picks to be quarterbacks. And we were almost there. Granted, Levis was not even close in the end. We got 3 for 4. But what the NFL is saying to us is, yes, we understand the importance of positional awareness. We understand the importance of having that franchise quarterback like Mahomes or a young Aaron Rodgers to win a Super Bowl, but it has to be the right kind. A guy like Will Levis, his game is too similar to like a Jimmy G, Kirk, or Brock Purdy, where it's like, yes, he's going to give you a high floor. Like, he's not going to wreck the game as much as a Josh Allen. He just is, and he's not going to blow a game as much as like a young Lamar or Cam Newton. But at the same time, he's not going to be able to save the game the same way that those guys are able to. So I think NFL execs and coaches and owners realize the limited upside in Will Levis and saying that, yeah, he has the solid fundamentals and techniques. He's a great people's person, but just how much am I going to get from him at best? Like, can this guy really lead you to a Super Bowl? And so I think, yes, the quarterback position is, not any less important than it was before. In fact, it's becoming more and more important, but it's important to get the right type of guy with the right amount of upside. And Will Levis just wasn't him. He wasn't the guy. And that's all it is. And here's the last thing I'm going to say. Ben, I'm sorry about all your Boston heartbreak since I'm joining in late, but I would really compare, Boston as a sports town, and these Boston teams to kind of like the San Antonio Spurs or like the LA Lakers, where it's like they get to so many postseasons and so many postseason situations that you're bound to have heartbreak. It's like if I make the playoffs like 17 years in a row, or like if every single year my city is sending a team to like the semifinals, finals, or like quarterfinals of a playoffs, you're just bound to get those moments. Like, it just happens. Just pull through with it, man. I definitely feel it as a Buckeyes fan. I got to say, at least you're not a Minnesota sports fan, man. Where our only championship was the Twins in 2002. And then, of course, we do have the Lynx, but, we just haven't had a lot of that success. Just know that the more opportunities that you get, the more heartbreak that there's going to be, like the Spurs losing in 7 to the Heat in 2013. And how about the Spurs losing to a Derek Fisher 0.3 seconds left on the clock, shot clock buzzer beater? It is just simply the case. When the more you get there, the more heartbreak there is, but the greater the glory when you finish the job.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it.
Well, I want to go to you, Ben. Who was the surprising pick of the first round of the draft?
In terms of my case, I was actually on my show with actually James a couple days ago. We were talking about the draft, and I had Bijan Robinson going to Falcons. I thought this was a very fascinating one. The Falcons have a pretty good rushing attack core.
I mean, we're dealing with technical difficulties here, and let's see
if Ben is
back. Yeah, we can.
Okay. Yeah, I think my thing's a little spotty, kind of like Isaiah's. But yeah, Bijan Robinson to the Falcons was my surprise one. I think that the Falcons, really kind of looking at different other positions, but they took him high. And then, obviously the Patriots getting Christian Gonzalez and where they got him, I thought was a steal. I really like that pick. We really needed some help at corner. And I think specifically we got potentially one of the best corners potentially in this draft. So I really like that pick a lot. The Jahmyr Gibbs to the Alabama was really interesting. DeAndre Swift was able to be in a trade to the Eagles, which I kind of thought was maybe like the trade of the NFL draft, which is, I don't know, it's kind of a little underwhelming, but not every year you get the big trades or whatever. I mean, obviously the Rodgers and Lamar news kind of overtook a lot of that, so it is what it is. And then I think the most big move of the draft this first round was kind of a sneaky one, and I'm going to go Zay Flowers to the Ravens. This was a guy specifically I really wanted the Patriots, but Lamar Jackson really needed some help around him talent-wise, And, he got paid that big extension. And I think specifically he was kind of been telling, his team and coaching that he needed playmaking around him to where he wants to be. And he got Odell Beckham to come in, and I think you're getting a sneaky, also good player with Zay Flowers, who could be kind of a gadget player you have in the slot to kind of help you out as well. So there's a lot of fascinating moves. Specifically, obviously, the Texans trading up to go to 3, I think was very ballsy of them, but I think it was also a really good thing for them because I think they kind of did chess and checkers where they can get the quarterback, but they can also get the best defensive player. And I believe Isaiah and Laura, I believe you had Will Anderson in our mocks going to Houston. I'm pretty sure, or at least one of you guys did.
I mean, I had him dropping to Chicago.
I think I had him going to Houston. I had, if I remember correctly, I had Houston bypassing the quarterback and then drafting Anderson, and yeah, I think that's what I had.
Yeah, so essentially, if our mocks were kind of right, it was kind of Isaiah's kind of reversal where, exactly Houston got Will Anderson, but they decided to get even more as a bonus. So I think Houston really killed it, really in this case specifically. But yeah, in terms of our pick, lower for the first round, Christian Gonzalez, I think was a slam dunk. I think that we got him a lot longer than I think a lot of teams anticipated. So I really like that move specifically, and it helps our back end a lot for sure. And in terms of your pick, Steven, Jordan Addison is a fantastic move for the Vikings. I've really watched a lot of tape on this kid. Obviously, with the Patriots kind of looking at receivers for this off season, and obviously Addison was a guy that really caught my eye with a lot of his route running skills. He could learn from one of the best to ever do. I mean, I could probably say one of the best to ever do it down the road. And that's obviously a lot of praise for me because I've seen a lot of greats. But I think Justin Jefferson's going to be up there. I think he's going to be really praised to have that. And he's played with the quarterback that is very, I'm not going to call Kirk Cousins average, Steven, because obviously I'm not going to go that far. But obviously, he's not up there with like the Mahomeses, the Rodgers, by all means. He's a quarterback that can win you games for sure, but obviously he'll have his hiccups here and there. That's obviously myself, not to, yes, he beat my Patriots, this past season. I'm a little salty with that, but in all retrospects, yeah, I really like that move for you guys for sure.
Anyways, folks, with that being said here, we're going to talk about who the big winners of this draft are. For me, I'm going to go with the Houston Texans because, look, first round, I mean, after getting your franchise quarterback and C.J. Stroud, they moved up in the draft again with Arizona, and they got one of the best players in the draft defensively in Will Anderson Jr. I felt like the Texans now got their Nick Bosa. They now got their quarterback of the future that DeMeco Ryans works with. All in all, the Houston Texans, I think the way they had this draft, I really think this rebuild of the Texans in year one for DeMeco Ryans, I really think it's going to be so much fun to watch. What about you, Isaiah?
Laurel, I completely agree with you on the Texans. They are definitely the slam dunk winner of this draft, and it's not even close. They got their franchise quarterback, and they got their franchise pass rusher to rush after the quarterback and build their defense around. They had a hell of a draft, and I don't think we're going to see the Texans be good next season, but they're going to be on the come up. So just watch out for the Texans. As far as the other winners that I have for this draft besides the Texans, it's obviously got to be Philadelphia because they drafted all the Georgia Bulldogs from Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter. I mean, those two were absolute steals. Keely Ringo late in the draft. That was a huge steal. And then they drafted that offensive lineman from Alabama. That was also a big steal. Howie Roseman just knocked it out of the park in each round of the NFL draft. The only bad pick I would say that he had was Tanner McKee late in the draft, like the 6th round or something like that. I watched Tanner McKee's film at Stanford. I don't think he's really that good. He's a guy that, hesitates a lot, and you don't want that as in a quarterback when you have a quarterback just hesitating a whole lot. Other teams I would probably say, besides the Eagles, I would probably say The Jets, just because, they got Aaron Rodgers, like we said last week, Aaron Rodgers all of a sudden makes the New York Jets go from laughing stock to Super Bowl contenders. And then they ended up bolstering their team with offensive line help, defensive end help, in the first round of the draft, which will help their defense only get better. Aaron Rodgers has never had a situation where he's had one of the top 3 defenses in the NFL and also had great weapons alongside of him. And I think that when you look at what the Jets have now, I really think the Jets can really challenge the Bills, the Dolphins, as well as challenge teams like the Chiefs and other teams in the AFC who I felt like didn't really do a whole lot. Kansas City lost more than they gained this offseason. So the Jets are one of my winners. And, last but not least, this is not a team, but I would say for me, my biggest winner of the draft, Ben, Loro, and Steven, is Stetson Bennett, the quarterback out of Georgia. This guy is now going to be the future of the Los Angeles Rams. Matthew Stafford, I guarantee you, he's only got 1 year left in the NFL. I don't see him playing another 2-3 years. The guy has a messed up elbow. He's got a messed up neck. I mean, who knows if he's even going to play like 5 or 6 games, because as we all know, neck injuries are very, very tough to overcome. And Stetson Bennett, he's a quarterback that's played in an NFL system. He's ready to go. And, going to Ishmael's comment about, the Brock Purdy effect, you definitely saw that in the draft. A lot of these teams made a big run in the later rounds at quarterbacks that you never thought in previous years that they would get drafted. And you saw them get drafted this year. And I think the Rams are a big example. I think Sean McVay wanted to find his Brock Purdy in Stetson Bennett, a guy that's played a lot of football in college, a guy that is smart, a guy that has high IQ, and also a guy that doesn't really turn the football over a whole lot, knows how to make the right reads. I think Stetson Bennett is a perfect fit for the Rams, and he's a guy that I think that the Rams can definitely build a bright future around whenever Matthew Stafford does in fact call it quits. So I like the move for the Rams. I like it for Bennett. He goes into a situation in LA where they always work greatly with the quarterbacks. McVay is a quarterback guru. He's going to be able to help Stetson Bennett a whole lot. And I really think that, Stetson Bennett is going to be the future franchise quarterback of the LA Rams after Stafford moves on from football.
I respect your take there. I think that might be a really good take you got there about Stetson Bennett. But what about you, Steven and Ben? Who are the big winners of this draft?
I'll go first. Isaiah, I knew that bias of Stetson Bennett was going to hit, but I appreciate you, man, for that. For me specifically, the winners, give me the Houston Texans. Man, they've been living it for a long, long time. And for them specifically, they got the coach now with D'Amico Ryans, Isaiah's old friend. They got one of the best defensive players in the draft. This is a team that's going to start to build from bottom up. And, I think specifically that the Jaguars are going to be the rulers for that division for years. But, CJ Stroud and I forgot who they also got a receiver. I feel like the Texans got somebody sneaky as well. But,
I think we can go out of Ole Miss.
Yes. Yeah, that was a guy I think that that's going to be really sneaky. But, yeah, they just seem to really have just some pieces now I think you can really start to see build up for the future. So I have that team specifically. Another team is the Baltimore Ravens. I think the Baltimore Ravens really, they were in a big mess up with Lamar Jackson's trade request for about a month ago. A lot of things just kind of start to come out to shit. And now, it just feels like now they're kind of on the upcome again. They kind of have stuff to figure out, and then they got some decent talent there. And you know what, Isaiah? The Eagles just love taking their players. I don't know why. You might have to have a talk with Georgia if that's the case. But, man, the Philadelphia Eagles love the Georgia Bulldogs. And you know what? They're taking them from the best college football program. I pains me to say Ohio State fan, but right now Georgia's the best college football team in the country. And, you get Jordan Davis, you get Nolan Smith. You just get absolute just loaded defense now, and Steven, I don't know how you feel about this, but I have the Eagles probably between them and the Niners probably going to potentially have a rematch for the NFC title game at this point in time. Obviously, that's a hot take as of right now, but time will tell in terms of that. And then the Seahawks getting Jackson Smith and Jigba, my guy. I'm shocked how far he went down in that draft. I thought specifically, some team is going to take him. But yeah, Seattle, you have Lockett, you have Metcalf, you have Smith and Jigba, a bunch of guys that can kind of do different things. So, man, that's a really great pick for them. So yeah, I have a couple winners really specifically here. And then my X Factor winner is Detroit Lions. I still think that the Lions are just still in the uproar, and the Lions are gonna be booming again this year, guys. Let's go.
Well, I'll tell you this. What about you, Steven? Who was your biggest winner of the first round of the draft?
Biggest steal of the draft, I'd have to go with either Jackson Smith and Jigba to Seattle or Jordan Addison to Minnesota. We all know that in today's NFL, offense wins championships. It's no longer the defense that's dominating. And that's why it's so important to not only get a high upside quarterback like Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, or Anthony Richardson, but it's also important to surround that person with targets. And man, did they surround Geno Smith and Kirk with targets with those picks. The only thing that I would say, Ben, is that I'm not too surprised about Jackson Smith and Jigba falling off that much because we know that health in the NFL is at a premium. And when you're in a position like wide receiver where you're going to get lots of hits and there's already health concerns with many receivers, I think that was a concern for Smith and Jigba coming into this draft. The other thing is, I think the Ohio State system has really proven itself under Ryan Day to be not only a great breeding ground for quarterbacks, but also wide receivers. Like we saw Marvin Harrison Jr., Garrett Wilson, and then, all of those receivers kind of fill in really well for Ohio State as they lost receivers throughout the year. And then in Jigba himself, as they lost some receivers as well. So we've seen Ohio State be able to replenish receiver after receiver time and time again. So I think the health concern combined with how successful the Ohio State system is you have to wonder, does it say more about Njigba or does it say more about Ohio State? And so when you combine those two factors, I think 18 was the appropriate pick for him, unfortunately. But fortunately, being in Seattle, I think he'll have a really, really great go-around at it with a veteran quarterback and coach and Geno Smith and Pete Carroll. Now, I think the overall winner of the draft would have to be the Houston Texans. I wholeheartedly agree with you, Lauro and Isaiah, because I think they are the team that really changed the most from the status quo. Granted, they didn't really have much to go from. It's like, when you've got almost nothing, you're just bare bones. It's easy to rise up. So their starting point was so low that they had to have improved the roster the most. Now, I'm actually very surprised with Isaiah giving CJ Stroud such credit, in Ohio State Buckeye, and admitting that, the Texans really found their franchise quarterback. I'm really surprised from the bandwagon Michigan and Georgia fan being able to acknowledge the greatness of CJ Stroud.
He did prove me right, or he proved me wrong when Georgia played Ohio State, and he made those Bulldogs look absolutely pathetic on defense. I'll say that.
So, anyways, now, Ben, did you already talk about who your winners are in the draft?
Yes, it did. I mentioned, obviously, the Texans. I agree. I think that they're obviously kind of really changed the culture in terms of where they are from the draft. The Seahawks, I think, are pretty sneaky. They got some moves. There's kind of just a selective amount of teams, really, that, they have a lot of young quarterbacks. They obviously have some pieces kind of offensively they need to go with, and obviously defensively. So, I don't know. This draft was kind of unknown. There's a lot of guys where I feel like that they could be good. But the draft is the draft at the end of the day that, you look at, a guy like a Trevor Lawrence, there's just some guys that you just know that they're going to be good right into the league. But this was just kind of a draft that you just have a lot of unknowns about. So it's really going to be fascinating to kind of see where, these guys specifically go in terms of elevate their game at new places. You look at a team like the Texans. The Texans don't have a lot, so how does CJ Stroud kind of elevate himself to become where he wants to be? If he went to a team that had maybe more weapons like Seattle or San Fran, but now he's going to a young team with Houston. I think that for a lot of young quarterbacks, going to places where they don't have to feel a lot of the pressure is a better thing because that's where they can elevate their game and not have to worry, right? So I think that's just something right there. So yeah, to really answer your question, Laura, I did say kind of some other some teams specifically, but I don't know. I just feel maybe Houston is kind of the team that really changed things, but time will tell.
Anyways, now, folks, with that being said, we're going to talk about the NBA right now. So, we are going to talk about first the Boston Celtics losing to the Philadelphia 76ers. I mean, Ben, there's an injury to Jason Tatum, which I think might put the Celtics in panic mode.
I think he's going to be fine. Yeah. Watching the Bruins, obviously, I thought broke me, but TD guard in the last 3-4 games, man. I don't know what happened if they put some like stench in there, some medicine that completely just changed things. But man, oh man. And the crazy thing is too, it's just I don't know, really. But in terms of this game, I thought this is a really entertaining game. It sucks that we were on the other end of it. The biggest thing about the Celtics really is, for terms of this year specifically, is, and I've seen a lot with terms of the Bruins and the Celtics this playoffs, which I thought I would never see, but it's been their finishes. The finishing, both of these teams used to be great in the regular season. But when Joel Embiid went down, I think a lot of people were like, yes, this is awesome. Obviously I hate injuries, but it was going to be advantage Boston. But actually, specifically, if you watch the Celtics all season, they play extremely down to competition when they have big time players go out because it's very lackadaisical and focused. You see your Al Horford after the game in terms of, we don't know if their focus level was at 100%. With Joel Embiid, they didn't know specifically where things were. I don't know why that's the case. You look at last year, Ime Udoka, first minded defensive coach. The reason why the Celtics were in the NBA Finals was a lot of healthy teams that they were facing. They were extremely locked in. And I think with Joe Mazzulla, a younger coach, I know that he's kind of really helped out, but the defense specifically, I mean, tonight just felt like an all-star game. Back and forth, back and forth. And James Harden had to really kind of show up and, really kind of deserve his flowers. And he had some big shots tonight. Philly made a lot of big shots. We were up 12 in the first half. And, the thing about the Celtics all season, they haven't been able to have a great killer instinct. Crazy enough, you'd think with 2 All-Stars and Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, you'd have it. But it's been a theme of the Celtics for years and years. And I don't know specifically why it is, but it's the character of them. They get into just a phase where it can get very soft, and it sucks because that's just kind of the next step in terms of I feel like the Celtics win a championship is, do the guys really want it? And I think that's just the one thing specifically. So, being up 12, D'Anthony Melton for them off the bench, made a lot of big threes. They kind of went back and forth. And I expected this to be a long series. I think it's going to go 7. Hopefully we're on the right end of it because there's been a lot of shit that I've had the last couple of days. I need some back good things happen. Of course, with Alex Verdugo, I know this is different, but Alex Verdugo in the walk-off right after the Celtics game tonight, I'm like, finally I can celebrate something after the last couple shitty days. But it's obviously it's only game 1. I know that we've had Philly's number for playoffs the last couple times we faced them, so they know that this is far from over. But guys, this is the first game 1 victory for the 76ers over the Celtics since 1981. It feels like forever specifically. So that just comes to show that crazy things have happened. And yeah, it was a good game. It's tough to lose. But hopefully you come back Wednesday. This is a must game now win because you don't want to go down 2-0 going to Philly with it specific probably Embiid healthy now and playing in front of their hostile crowd. So win game 2. Obviously, all is forgotten in game 1. Kind of like the game 5 of the Hawks series where, Trae Young makes that, and obviously it just went down a ship, but it responded. It's adversity at the end of the day. Sometimes you have that, sometimes you don't. But the execution in the 5 minutes has just been absolutely atrocious. When a game gets tight, I know that Isaiah had a tweet about it, and I know the Celtics last couple of years, me and Isaiah, we kind of had our differences, but I agree with Isaiah that the Celtics at times have been vulnerable, especially in the 5-minute mark. Defense at times can get a little lackadaisical. They don't stay focused, but it's, they just don't finish at times when needed. And they let a lot of teams hang around, and sometimes you just kind of get what you get. So it was disappointing, but you got to give Philly some credit. They played really well. They played hard, and hopefully that we turn things around for game 2.
Anyways, Isaiah, what are your thoughts on the Boston Celtics losing to the Sixers today in game 1?
I'm not really gonna talk much about Boston. I'm gonna give that to Ben and Steven. I want to talk more about the Sixers. I think that James Harden deserves his flowers after this game. I mean, this was a great performance by James Harden. I mean, this guy, he heard all the noise. Playoff choker, doesn't show up in the big moments, can't rely on him, blah, blah, blah. Embiid's out. He's probably going to choke again. And James Harden came to this game with a mission, and he absolutely responded to the challenge of not having Joel Embiid. This guy was going off starting in the very beginning. I mean, he had 12 points in the first quarter, 5 for 5 from the field to start the game. He was dynamic, both with his scoring abilities and his passing abilities, making his teammates better, setting them up in rhythm. It was just a great performance. And then late in the game, he took over with his shooting. I mean, he hit back-to-back, tough threes, one over Al Horford that put them ahead, and the second one that kept them with the lead. So, give James Harden his flowers. He absolutely deserves it. 45 points. He came to play tonight. And, for him to shed that label of playoff choker and doesn't, respond to the big moments, he's got to play like this every single game. And if he does, man, the Philadelphia 76ers are going to the NBA Finals. If James Harden can play like this every single game, plus Embiid comes back, which I expect him to in game 2. But, this series, like Ben mentioned, I think this is going to be a really good series. And let's take a moment to really look at all the series in the second round. I really think we're setting up for one of the best second rounds in the NBA playoffs in the last 10 years. I mean, you have 76ers Celtics. I expect that one to go 7. You have Heat Knicks, 2 teams that, played the same style of basketball, both like to muck it up in the paint and get physical on defense. You have 2 elite coaches in Tom Thibodeau and Eric Spoelstra going at it. And then you have Lakers Warriors. I mean, that's box office itself. It's like the NBA Finals before the Finals. You have LeBron versus Curry, and then you have Nuggets and Suns with Devin Booker, Kevin Durant versus Jokic, and those guys. I mean, this is going to be one of the best second rounds ever. I honestly could see every series in the second round going 6 or 7 games and just going down to the wire like it did tonight in both Denver and in Boston. But I mean, the Celtics, to Ben's point, the reason why I put out the message saying that they look vulnerable is because a lot of people were talking about going into these playoffs. They were talking about that the Boston Celtics, the Milwaukee Bucks were like the overwhelming favorite. And when you watch these playoffs, it just hasn't been the case. The Bucks got knocked out in the first round. The Celtics have lost a couple of games that they shouldn't have lost. I just think that when you look at these playoffs, I really don't see anybody being the overwhelming favorite. I think that that's what makes this playoffs just so intriguing is the fact that you don't know who's going to win. Like if you ask myself, Steven, Ben, or Loro, I don't think any of us could tell you definitively who's going to win the NBA title. We can tell you who's the favorite, but we can't tell you who's going to win because anything can really happen, and that's what makes it really intriguing. But for the Celtics, I think they'll be fine. They just need to win game 2. They got to take better care of the basketball. Jaylen Brown had several turnovers, especially late in that second quarter, that I felt like he was just trying to get everything clicking back at once. When Philly was coming back, they were playing that fast pace, and then Brown runs back down the court, and he does something stupid and ends up turning the ball over. I think he needs to play more controlled, and I think that would be better for him and the Celtics moving forward. But the Celtics will be fine. But James Harden, man, what a performance! He earned his flowers tonight.
You're right about James Harden earning his flowers tonight, but now
one quick
we're going to go to Steve.
Sorry, really quick before I go to Steven. I agree with Isaiah because in terms of, I feel like the year 2023 is the battle of unknown, and the fact that obviously I don't think anybody expected the Bruins to lose to the Panthers in the first round. I don't think anybody had the Avalanche being out in the first round. So the correct. I don't think anybody had the Bucks. I know maybe some people Miami had the Heat maybe. So it just feels like March Madness has extended it to another league. And part of me is just like, it might be just the battle of the year of the underdog everywhere. So it's like you could have legitimate NBA finals of like the Heat and the Suns, or the Heat in Denver, or you could have NHL, you could have the Kraken for the first year against the Panthers. It's like we just don't know what will happen. So I just really want to quickly say that before Steven.
What about you, Steven? What's your thoughts on the Celtics and Sixers game?
Yeah, like Isaiah said, I really feel like that James Harden earned his flowers for the playoffs. This was his vintage playoff moment that he just had to have. They didn't necessarily have to win this game for James Harden's reputation. Like, they had to win it as a team, yes, because they're going to be playing the Celtics probably shorthanded and without a 100% Embiid. So, as a team, they needed the game. But this is not a game that, you expected James Harden to just come out there and win it. And yet he did it. And we knew at some point James Harden would need that vintage moment to set him aside, set his legacy in the playoffs. But with all that being said, it is still just game one. And we know that the Celtics are going to bounce back and they're going to play better and better as the series goes along. I fully expect this one to go to game 6 or 7, and it's going to be a dogfight. And, Boston has shown the ability to beat Philly again and again in the long run. So you do not expect things to go as smoothly for the Sixers for the rest of the series. It's definitely going to be a tough out for both teams. So with that being said, I really do feel like, guys, that this is just a really tough year for the Celtics where they have to execute, they have to perform. Because if you really think about it, Loro and Isaiah, Giannis went down and out of the playoffs. He was playing hurt the entire time. He got knocked out. The Warriors and the Lakers aren't getting any younger. They're getting older. Luka and the Mavs didn't even qualify for the playoffs. And then now you have the Phoenix Suns down 0-2 with their overloaded roster. It just doesn't get much better than this for the Celtics and their opportunity to win the finals. It just really feels like, and I hate to say it, it really feels like if Boston doesn't win the title this year, when are they going to do it? Like, when are they going to win the title if they don't win it this year? That is, the one concern about it. I fully expect them to still win the series, and it's going to be a close one. But if they keep playing like this, they're not going to be able to win the championship. And, even though there's injuries around the league, Draymond Green made a good point. If you're in the playoffs right now and you're this deep into the season, nobody's 100%. Everybody's 85% at best, but nobody's at 100 or 90%.
Anyways, now we're going to talk about the Suns Nuggets here as Chris Paul left the game with tightness in his groin. I think my concern level for CP3 is a little high because if you look at it, CP3 makes the Suns go, but do the Suns have options of point guard on who can step up in his place? Absolutely, with Cameron Payne. But I feel like that if Chris Paul isn't 100%, I think the Suns season is down the drain, Isaiah. And do you think that the Phoenix Suns, I really think, Isaiah, they're probably done at this point.
Steven, I'm kind of glad that we still have you on because I'm about to say something that I think will really shock you. I hope you turn your camera on. I don't know if you can, but I hope you do because um, this is something that I've said, a long time. And by the way, nice house. By the way, I really like it. You know, I've said it time and time again. Never thought I would ever change the tune, but I need to apologize to the Denver Nuggets. The Denver Nuggets, in these playoffs, have fully convinced me that they are legit championship contenders. I've always thought of them as a pretender. I've always thought that, hey, you can't win because Jokic is going to get tired out running up and down the court. They don't have any shooting, blah, blah, blah. But after watching not just the Wolves series, but this series in general, they remind me a lot of the 2009 Orlando Magic, where it was you got the big man, the star big man. Orlando had Dwight Howard, but they had shooters around him that could knock down shots at a frenetic pace. And that's what's happening right now with Denver. You got Jokic, who is in the middle, and you got great shooters around him who are knocking down shots at a great pace. Jamal Murray is balling out. And their defense is just suffocating right now. I thought that against, Stevens, Minnesota Timberwolves, who, let's face it, they shouldn't even have been in the playoffs in general. America lost when the Thunder lost, to the Wolves in that, play-in game. But, when they were playing the Wolves, like I expected them to whoop the Wolves in every game, and they didn't because it wasn't because of just Jokic. It was because Jokic was dominating, but it was also because KCP was knocking down shots at a high level. Jamal Murray was balling out, looking like the superstar he is before the ACL injury. Guys like Bruce Brown were balling. I mean, everybody was just. Michael Porter Jr. was balling as well, and then you had a guy like Christian Braun, who I don't know if he is related to Mac McClung because they absolutely look alike. But that guy, I don't know where he's from, but he just, he's killing it out there on the court. I know he had a quiet game tonight, but his defense, his toughness, his rebounding, it's not on the stat sheet, but he's just absolutely killing it out there. And then you look at this series, the first two games, what's happened? I thought Phoenix was going to win because I thought Phoenix had the better star power. That's why they were going to win. But Denver has completely outclassed Phoenix in the first two games. Jamal Murray was a stud in game one. He just lit it up. And then in game two, they won not because they shot the ball well, but they won because of their defense. This was a game that Phoenix had to win. This was a game where they could have won because both teams shot the ball extremely bad, but Denver just shot it better, and they made plays down the stretch to help them win this game. And KD was ice cold. Devin Booker was getting doubled and tripled late in the game. It was just bad all around for the Phoenix Suns late in the game, and they just could not contain Jokic. And DeAndre Ayton, man, he has played really soft the last couple of games. There was one play where I think it was in game one where he was literally just standing right there. Jokic is standing here, the rim is right here, and he doesn't even run to contest Jokic from getting every rebound, and Jokic was missing, then getting his own rebound and putting it back, missing again, getting his own rebound and then putting it back again, and then missing again, and he still never came over, and Jokic again got his own rebound and finally put it in. It's like, dude, like, you see Jokic getting like 4 or 5 rebounds in a row, and you're standing right there. Why are you not coming up to contest it? Makes no sense whatsoever. I just don't know if DeAndre Ayton really wants it in the NBA. He just doesn't have that, factor where he just really wants it. And now with Chris Paul going down, I think it's a big loss for the Phoenix Suns because, they're saying they're saying groin tightness, but we've seen this with Chris Paul, hamstring soreness, hamstring tweak, and it ends up being a long injury. And without Chris Paul, the Phoenix Suns just can't really function because he's the guy that gets the ball to Ayton. He's the guy that puts Durant in rhythm. He's the guy that, takes the attention off Booker. And, the Phoenix Suns are in big, big trouble right now. And the Denver Nuggets are proving themselves to be legit championship contenders and really separating themselves from the pack as the favorite right now in the Western Conference, outside of the Lakers. But to answer your question, Laurel, are the Suns in trouble after the Paul injury? Yeah, they absolutely are. If Chris Paul has to miss another game, the Suns are going to go down 3-0 because, the crowd in Phoenix is going to be loud, but the Denver Nuggets can win any type of a way, and the Phoenix Suns just look discombobulated without Chris Paul at the helm.
Anyways, now, folks, with that being said here, Steven, do you have anything to add here?
Yeah, so I'm gonna say the same thing for the Suns as the Celtics. You just got this stacked team, this loaded team with Kevin Durant on it, Devin Booker on it, and you still have your co-stars in Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton. If the Suns are not able to win it this year, when the Warriors and Lakers are getting older and older, with Giannis out of the playoffs, with Jimmy Butler and the Heat limping along the way, when are they ever going to win the title? Last year, you had the 62-win season. You didn't do it. The year before, you had the 2-0 lead against Giannis and the Bucks, and you had this almost infallible run until then, and you didn't finish the job. If you don't get it done this year, how are you ever going to overcome that choker label? But not only that, logistically speaking, when are you going to have a better opportunity? I know that being down 2-0 to Denver is not the best look for them right now, but entering this series, this was definitely one of their better chances in their franchise's history to win the title. They were the favorites to win the West, I believe. Now they're probably long shots down 2-0, and I agree with Ben, absolutely. Jokic is that game changer. He has proven himself to be able to win these early rounds. We'll see if he can get it done in the Western Conference Finals and the NBA Finals. But for now, I've got the Nuggets winning in 6. I think the Suns take games 3 and 4 in close fashion, but the Nuggets close it out in Milehouse City to take the 3-2 lead, and then they blow the Suns out in Game 6 to close out the series. I think this is the Nuggets series to take now, and could the Joker become that next big dude, that next big man star to disprove the haters about whether or not he can win the title? A while ago, people said that Steph Curry couldn't win the title because he's too small and feeble. He's not physically dominant like LeBron. He did it. Then people said Giannis couldn't win the title because, Colin Cowherd called him the Lamar Jackson of the NBA. He puts up all these pretty numbers. He has this monstrous physique and he has this unstoppable game, but when it comes down to it, he doesn't have a shot or a strategy. There's not a lot of strategy to his game, but he won the title. And now could Jokic be that guy that everybody doubts? Like, yeah, he is a big star. He is the MVP, but can he win the title? Can Jokic be that next guy to prove the doubters wrong? We will see, man. I'm seeing a little bit of Dirk Nowitzki in him in this run, though. And I do hope, for the sake of European NBA fans and for the sake of people who believe in the big man, who believe in the stars, who are team-oriented, that Jokic gets it done.
Before we get to the Lakers here, guys, we'll talk about Jimmy Butler, who scored 25 points and grabbed 11 rebounds to help lead the Miami Heat to a 108-101 Game 1 victory over the New York Knicks. I'm bummed that Steven's not staying with us here because we want to talk about the Lakers in front of him, which we will get to in a little bit. But you know what? A lot of people underestimated the Miami Heat. I thought they were a team that was just going to be one and done after the play-in tournament. But you know what? The Miami Heat look like they're playing great basketball at the right time. I thought this team was going to be a top 3 or 4 team in the East. But with all the injuries that they had this season, they found a way to get in the playoffs, but they have found ways to advance and knock off the top teams in the East.
Laurel, this was a great start to what it's going to be a great series. I think that these two teams, the Heat and the Knicks, it's going to be like the 90s where you see every game be like 99-94, 100-96, 108-102. It's going to be a low-scoring series every game. But, it's going to be a lot of defense, a lot of physicality, a lot of mucking it up in the paint, and not a lot of three-point shooting. It's just going to be a lot of teams that play basketball the way that it was used to be played, and that's good. You have that great style. You have two great iconic franchises going at it. You have Tom Thibodeau versus Eric Spoelstra, two elite head coaches going at it. I mean, I just can't wait for the rest of this series. But in terms of game one, this was all about Jimmy Butler. This was all about Jimmy Butler. And these playoffs have been not the NBA playoffs, but it's been the Jimmy Butler playoffs. This guy is hurt. This guy is, not ready. This guy, a lot of people are counting him out, and he's just willing the team, putting them on his back. He's willing them to wins every single day. I mean, I think it was before the Bucks series or before the play-in that you don't want to face Miami in the first round. None of these top seed teams like the Sixers, the Celtics, the Heat, or the Bucks, I mean, they don't want to face Miami in round one because they know that, hey, they might win, but they're going to get a physically draining, very, very tough series in round one. And you don't want that because in the first round for the top seeds, they just want to breeze through it and they get into the second round and save their energy. And what did Miami do? They go into Milwaukee. They play the Bucks very tough. Unfortunately, Giannis did get hurt in game one, but they played him very tough. They mucked it up in the paint, and they won the series in 5 games over the Milwaukee Bucks, and now they're playing the Knicks. And, I think the Knicks are going to put up a good fight, but I just don't think the Knicks have enough star power to be able to get through the Miami Heat in about 7 games. That's why my prediction is the Heat in 6. But Randall's injury was obviously a big factor for the Knicks. They really missed his scoring alongside Jalen Brunson. The Miami Heat in this game, the Miami Heat, played very well. They rallied in the second half to down the Knicks. Jimmy Butler, 25 points, 11 rebounds. Bam Adebayo had a great performance. Gabe Vincent was great with 20 points. Kyle Lowry was great with 18 points off the bench. Even Caleb Martin, Max Strus with huge threes down the stretch. Like, this was Jimmy Butler, and then everybody else chipped in as well. So that's why the Heat won. But the Knicks really need Julius Randle to compete with the Heat because they need some guy that can stop Bam Adebayo and Kevin Love, and they need a guy who can score opposite of R.J. Barrett and Jalen Brunson, who had 25 points. Barrett had 26, but they need that extra scoring boost to be able to have a chance to win. So they got to get Randle back as soon as possible, and I think that if they do, this series definitely will go 6 or 7.
Absolutely. I could see that. But now we got to talk about the Warriors and then combine that topic with the Lakers. So Steph Curry scored a record 50 points to help lead the Warriors to an emphatic 120-100 Game 7 win over the Kings to set up an epic Lakers-Warriors second round series. And let me tell you, the Lakers and Warriors, I'll tell you, my prediction is Lakers in 7 over the Warriors. I really think the Lakers are a team that I really think they're going to go all the way this year. They're playing great basketball at the right time. I feel like that there's things I think they need to get fixed, like especially defense and fixing that intensity on that side of the ball. But all in all, I see this team going all the way and winning it all. And, I think the Warriors are going to get knocked out at some point in the playoffs. I don't think they're going to repeat.
Steph Curry was flat out freaking amazing. I mean, I could not believe what I was seeing yesterday. He was just dynamite for the Golden State Warriors. And I think the thing that really turned it for the Warriors was the Klay Thompson 4-point play just before the third quarter ended. I mean, the Kings were only down. I think they were only down by like 7. It was not a comfortable lead, but it was still a close game. And then Klay Thompson on the final possession, dribble drive, he shoots a 3 and he gets fouled and he gets knocked down and he banks it in and it's a foul. And it literally switched from being a 7-point game. It could have been a 7-point lead by the Warriors to end the third quarter, and then it ended up being an 11-point lead to end the third quarter. That was what really switched it for the Golden State Warriors. That's why the Warriors ended up going on that emphatic run in the fourth quarter, was because it was an 11-point lead. It went from being a winnable game to being a very not winnable game for the Sacramento Kings. Curry was sensational last night. Whether it was the three ball, whether it was the driving, the layups that he had, he was just, he just put the team on his back just like Jimmy Butler did and willed the Warriors to the win. That's why the Golden State Warriors ended up winning this game. It was because of Steph Curry's greatness and Steph Curry alone. The Kings, they missed a lot of shots late in the fourth quarter. They couldn't get anything going in that fourth quarter until late. Guys like Harrison Barnes went cold. Kevin Huerter was cold. De'Aaron Fox was cold late in the game. Keegan Murray was cold. Sabonis was cold. Malik Monk was cold. They just went cold at the wrong possible time, and they were outshined by Curry's greatness. And the Kings are going to be back, Loro. What a great story they were, but the Kings will be back. But I cannot wait, Loro, for the second round, man. I told Steven this last night. He made fun of it because he was like, oh, Isaiah picked the Kings, blah, blah, blah. I told him this. I wanted Golden State because as a basketball fan, I want LeBron versus Curry, Lakers versus Warriors, that spectacle that will be Lakers-Warriors. I wanted that, and I wanted to personally end the Warriors dynasty in the second round, and I cannot wait for the second round. I know we'll talk about it in the next topic, but man, Warriors-Lakers, that's the matchup I wanted, especially for the Lakers, because the Warriors, I feel like, are a better matchup for the Warriors than the Kings, with them running up and down the court. But Lakers-Warriors is going to be epic, man. I'm glad we got that matchup. Curry versus LeBron, Klay Thompson versus Curry and Clay, and Draymond versus LeBron and AD. It's going to be so much fun, man, and I cannot wait, man, because that series is going to go 6 or 7, and every game is going to go down to the wire. I guarantee you that. But great win by the Warriors, and, man, get your popcorn ready because Lakers-Warriors is about to be the best series thus far in the NBA playoffs.
It's going to be a great series. I have a feeling. I predicted Lakers in 7. What about you?
My prediction is Lakers in 6. I think the Lakers win game 1 tomorrow because I think the Warriors are going to be tired and weary. I think that Anthony Davis, here's the thing. It's going to come down to, can the Warriors guard LeBron or AD? I have no doubt in my mind that I think Reeves will be able to clamp Klay Thompson down. The Lakers will be able to, minimize the impact that Curry's had, but it's going to come down to who's going to guard LeBron or AD. Are you putting Draymond on him? Are you putting Kevon Looney? Can they guard him? Because if they can't, it's going to be like the regular season matchups where Anthony Davis averaged 40 points a game. LeBron James averaged 30 points a game. They're going to eat down low in the paint, and if the Warriors can put a body on them and stop them, then the Warriors will have a chance. But if they can't, it's going to be a long, long series for the Golden State Warriors because AD is just going to be getting whatever he wants in the paint and just being a defensive menace for the Lakers, and LeBron's going to be doing the same thing. So it's going to come down to that, who's going to be able to stop LeBron and AD, and that's what's going to really determine this matchup in Warriors-Lakers. But I got Lakers in 6. I think the Lakers win tomorrow. Warriors win game 2, and then, I think the Lakers will take game 3 on their own home court because the Warriors play like trash on the road. I think the Lakers take a 3-1 lead, and then I think the Warriors win game 5 at Chase Center, and it goes back to LA for game 6, and I think that's when LA takes it in 6. But I got Lakers in 6.
I say 7. I really think it's going to be one of those series that's going to be back and forth. I think the Lakers win game 1. I think the Warriors win game 2. Lakers win game 3. Warriors win game 4. Game 5 will be kind of a toss-up. I have the Warriors winning game 5. Game 6, I have it being the Lakers getting this series back to Golden State for a do-or-die game 7, and then I have the Lakers taking this in 7. I wish this matchup, honestly, was in the Western Conference Finals.
Yes. This is basically the Western Conference Finals right now. That's what this is. It's going to be food theater, man. It's going to be a great matchup. And Loro, since we're Laker fans, I think we both can agree on this. LeBron and AD are going to show up and show out. But guys like Rui, guys like D'Angelo Russell, guys like Malik Beasley, guys like Austin Reeves, they got to show up in this series for the Lakers to be able to win this series. The role players have to show up. It's LeBron and AD are going to do their thing. But the guys that I listed, Rui, I think he's going to be a nightmare, a matchup nightmare for the Warriors. Reeves, guys like Schroeder, guys like, even Mo Bamba, they got to show up because I think if they do, I think the Lakers will be able to handle the Warriors because the Lakers are bigger than the Warriors and they can't stop the Lakers from imposing their will in the paint.
Well, anyways, now we'll talk some baseball here. Aaron Judge, I think, is a big blow for the Yankees. I mean, going on the injured list for 10 days, right hip strain. So many injuries that the Yankees are dealing with right now. But you know what? When they get those guys back, the Yankees are going to be back.
There's trouble brewing in New York, Loro. The Yankees are, 15-15 right now. They just lost Aaron Judge. The thing is, even with Judge, their offense was not swinging the bat extremely well. They went to Texas.
You can play the Yankees on MLB The Show like I did with Dodgers and Yankees. And if you have good pitching, you're going to get to that Yankees high-octane offense.
Yeah, that's what Texas did to them. I mean, Evaldi shut them down. Then,
the Yankees are basically a team that is home run or bust.
Exactly. They're home run or bust. If you have good pitching, not even great pitching, good pitching, you'll be able to shut this Yankee offense down. Guys like LeMahieu, Gleyber Torres, Volpe, Aaron Hicks, they're not doing anything, and they're not getting any offensive production out of guys not named Aaron Judge, and now Judge is hurt, so they're going to have to find someone who can give them that offensive production, or else they're going to keep falling and falling. They got the Rays coming up, they got 4 games against the Rays, then they got the A's, and then they got another 3 games against the Rays. But those Rays series are going to be very, very tough for the Yankees without Judge. And, Loro, I'm starting to think that I think the Yankees need to go out and make a move for a big-time bat. They got to go out and get that bat, because if they don't, they're going to be screwed.
Look, they're going to get Rodon back. I think the Yankees' rotation is going to get much stronger.
They will get much stronger, but in the AL East, you got to get offense to produce.
Oh my gosh, you need offense because look at what Tampa Bay's doing right now. Look at what Toronto's doing. Look at what Baltimore's doing, for instance.
Yeah, exactly. And one guy that I think the Yankees should look after is Brent Rooker. The guy is swinging a hot bat for the A's. This guy's a big surprise right now. He's got 9 home runs and 23 RBIs, and I think he's figured it out with his swing. He's hitting 353 right now. He's going to tail off, but the guy can flat out hit right now. And I think the Yankees should trade for him because I think he would do well, especially with that short porch in right field at Yankee Stadium. And I think he'll be able to crush a lot more home runs that way. And the Yankees, he'll be a big bat that the Yankees definitely could add to the mix. And, outside of that, I don't really know of other team. Maybe you can make a run at, Ohtani or something like that, but you got to get more bats in that lineup.
You got to get more bats. I agree, but do I think that the lineup for the Yankees is good when healthy with Stanton and Judge and Rizzo and Volpe and Cabrera? I think it is.
I think it is, but there's been so many injuries. Stan's out, Judge is out, Trevino is out. He's got another elbow issue. Montas is out. Rodon is out. There's so many guys that are out. Like, what's going on in New York?
You're right. What is going on in Yankee land right now? I think Aaron Boone, if he doesn't get his act together, I could see him being fired at the end of the season.
Yeah. Especially if they miss the playoffs. If they miss the playoffs, Aaron Boone is gone. I guarantee you that.
But do I think the Yankees will make the playoffs in the season's end? I think they will.
It depends on if they get their guys that are injured back right now. If they can get those guys back, then yeah, they will make the playoffs.
Well, we got to talk about the Dodgers and Phillies game first before we talk about Bryce Harper. I mean, Gonsolin didn't get the victory, though. But as for the Dodgers, they got the win. But Taiwan Walker he got lit up today.
I think the Phillies overlooked this game. I really do. I don't think the Phillies really cared about this game because they know they're getting Harper back and they just wanted to get over this game and go to tomorrow. That's when their season really starts, is when Bryce Harper comes back. But it's the same thing with the Phillies that has plagued them all year. Starting pitching can't go deep in the games. You have to wear out your bullpen. And then by the time, you look up at the scoreboard, it's like 15-1 or it's like 13-4 like it was today. The Phillies just haven't been getting good quality starting pitching all year long outside of
Well, look,
Nola
because
Wheeler.
you don't have Ranger Suarez.
Yeah. And guys like Strom and Bailey Falter and Taiwan Walker, they've been okay, but they've been inconsistent. That's the thing with them. One time they'll look good, but then the next 2-3 starts, they'll look really bad. So I think Dave Dombrowski needs to, hope that Walker gets his act together because they signed him to a big contract at the start of the season. In the offseason, I mean, and then, you got to get Ranger Suarez back. I think if you can, I think the Phillies will be okay because their lineup can hit. But I'm just worried about their starting pitching, Loro. I'm really worried about their starting pitching. I think that, their bullpen is going to be fine. I think their lineup's going to be fine. But they need more depth on that starting pitching, especially the 3, 4, and 5 starters. And if they
you
can
get Suarez back, then I do think he's your number 3, along with Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler.
Well, even Aaron Nola hasn't been that good this season. He's been lit up a few times already this season. But yeah, I agree. I think if you get him back, if you get Suarez back and he's good, then I think that'll be a boost for the Phillies. But I think you need to at least add one more starter because Strom is a bullpen guy. He's always been a long man out of the bullpen, and he's been really good coming out of the bullpen. And I think for the Phillies, if they can get Strom to be the bullpen guy again, add another guy, then I think they'll be set. And some of the guys that I'm targeting, if I'm Dave Dombrowski, is I'm looking at Chicago because I think the White Sox, Laurel, they've been really bad this season. I think the White Sox are going to sell. They're 8-21, and I feel so bad for Pedro Grifo and that talent.
Put in a bad situation to begin with.
Yeah. I could see them trading maybe Giolito. I could see them trading Dylan Cease. If they do, Dombrowski better get on the phone and get one of those guys because they're going to be.
You think Dombrowski should get on the phone with Rick Hahn?
Yes, because the White Sox are not going anywhere. They're 8-21.
Why do you think they're not going anywhere? I'm not even panicking right now. Teams can overcome 8-21 starts. And when they get healthy, I could see the White Sox improving.
Well, they better improve fast because they're already 9 games back in the division.
Look, when they get Tim Anderson back, I really think that's going to help them.
Well, I mean, if you look at it, like you got the White Sox. I didn't expect the White Sox to have like a 2-game better record than the A's. I'll tell you that. Like the A's are 6.
No, I think the White Sox have a talented roster. I still think they do.
I think it's the chemistry with them, though. That's the biggest issue. They don't have a lot of great chemistry. And Grifo, I feel bad for the guy. He was placed in a really bad situation.
No, I think Pedro Grifo has potential to be a really good manager in the league.
Yeah, he does. But
I don't really think it's his fault, though.
No, I don't think so.
No, I feel like he's built to be a manager. He's going to do a great job in the future.
I think he is, but I would have rather seen him get the Kansas City job than get the Chicago job, just because there's so high expectations and they're not meeting it right now.
Well, the thing is, the White Sox have way too many injuries right now.
Yes.
That's why I'm thinking that when they're gonna get healthy, when they get Liam Hendricks back, when they get Tim Anderson back, then the White Sox are gonna be good.
Yeah, I think their bullpen will get better, but it's the other guys in the bullpen. Graveman has struggled. Like the other guys have really struggled in that bullpen.
And I disagree with you. I don't think they're going to trade Lucas Giolito.
If the White Sox fall out, right? Let's say the White Sox fall out. Who do you think will be traded?
I'm not trading Giolito if I were Rick Hahn.
You're not trading Giolito?
No.
I think Giolito, you could get the biggest package for it.
No, I don't think Rick Hahn would trade Giolito or Cease.
Well,
I would trade Lance Lynn.
I think here's the thing. I think you would trade Giolito, and here's why. Because Giolito is a free agent after the year.
I don't know where. I don't know to whom though.
Yeah, I think you have to trade Giolito because he is going to be a free agent at the end of the season, and I think you definitely need to get something back for him. And maybe guys like, Mike Clevenger, you can also trade. I don't think you would trade Liam Hendricks or Joe. Joe Kelly. He's been all right, but he's got a 6.26 ERA right now.
Kelly is one of those guys that start off slow and then ends the season on a good note.
Right.
Him on my Dodgers, though. I wish he was still there.
Maybe Giolito to the Dodgers.
Maybe
rental.
Maybe if I want to give up Noah, if any time you want to give up Noah Syndergaard, I would do it.
Right. Well, I think if I were you, I would put Syndergaard in the bullpen. I think his stuff would be really good in the bullpen.
Well, right now he's just starting for us.
Yeah.
But as for tomorrow's game, Matt Strom is going up against Julio Urias, and I think Matt Strom's going to get lit.
Yeah, I think Matt Strom is going to get lit as well. But I think the Phillies offense, they need to stretch some runs across because you can't get shut out until the fifth inning like you did tonight. I think
you know what? I think they're going to get shut out.
By Urias? Even when Harper comes back?
I think they're going to get shut out by Julio Urias.
Urias is good, but I think the Phillies will get an adrenaline boost with Harper coming back. I think
well, that's going to take time. It's not going to happen right away. So I do think that with Harper coming back, he's going to play some first base and DH.
That's good. So we can have Castellanos and Schwarber not being in left field and right field all the time.
Well, I did this in my MLB The Show League. I don't have Schwarber in left. I have him as the primary DH in Philly so that Castellanos and Harper play right and left field.
Well, yeah. Well, Harper needs to get that elbow better, and if he does, then I think you would just rotate Schwarber and Castellanos in left field at times.
But for the Phillies here, I think that, look at the past series. I mean, not only that they lost the series to Houston. I mean, they were starting to pick it up at the end of the month. I feel like that. I think they're going to lose a series to the Dodgers, but I do think they're going to pick it up with Boston.
Well, Boston's also good too. Don't forget about that. They're also.
I thought they were the worst. They're going to be the worst team in the league.
Yeah. Everybody thought they were going to be the worst team in the league, but the Red Sox are actually decent. But I think if you look at it though, Loro, I think that the Phillies have a really tough schedule coming up. They got the Red Sox, and then they got the Blue Jays after that, and the Blue Jays are really good.
Well, if you look at the Red Sox, they're basically keeping up with everybody in the division.
They are. And then the Phillies got the Braves and the Mets. So this stretch is definitely a make or break for the Phillies.
Why do you think it's going to be a make or break for the Phils?
Because you're already 15-15, and that division, the Braves are running away with it right now. And you can't, if you want to win the division, you got to beat some of these good teams like the Dodgers, the Red Sox. You got the Blue Jays, and then you got Colorado, which should be easy. And then you got the Giants, the Cubs, and the D-backs, who have played really good baseball thus far.
I think the Braves, like I said, I think the Braves are a great team.
Oh, Sean Murphy is amazing, dude. That guy's been unlocked to another level with the Braves.
Who thought that the Braves were done without Freddie Freeman? You know what? The Braves had other ideas.
Yes, they did.
And Alex Anthopoulos is a wizard.
Well, Matt Olson helps when it comes to what's it called? Replacing Freddie Freeman.
No, I think if the Braves don't I don't think the Braves will be one of these teams that will be active at the deadline. I think they're good with what they have.
Yeah, I do too. I agree with that.
I think the Braves are going to stand pat in a good way.
I don't really see the Braves with a need. That's the thing. I don't see them with a big need.
Well, not necessarily, though. I like the guys in the bullpen like Minter, and also there's two great lefties in the bullpen in Minter and I forgot the other name, though.
Yeah. Who is that lefty?
No, AJ Minter is amazing.
You're right. He is. He's very good.
No, I do think the Braves, they'll be a team that I think that if they keep this up, you know what? They might win the World Series.
As a Phillies fan, I would hate to see that because I hate the Braves, but the Braves definitely look like one of the best teams in MLB right now.
No, I'm talking about with lefties here. I know that Minter is still there. And then I'm talking about another lefty, Tyler Matzik.
Former starter.
But Matzik, I think, is hurt right now.
Yeah, he is hurt.
But I know he's an important piece to that bullpen. The power left, Matzik and Minter.
Yeah. Who's their closer again?
It's Rafael Iglesias.
That's right. And he's a power pitcher too.
Throws with conviction.
Yep.
I'm looking at the Braves right now. I think Ian Anderson is one of those guys that just dropped. But all in all, for the Braves here, besides this, all in all, I do think that when they get Soroka back, I think that's going to make them better. Spencer Strider is a dude that just throws lights out stuff.
He does. And Ian Anderson, he's been on a downfall ever since. I don't know what happened to him, but he was really good.
I do like Michael Harris II, though.
Yeah, Michael Harris II is really good, too.
Yeah, anyways, now we'll talk about the Padres. They sweep a 2-game series this weekend over the Giants in Mexico City. I wish we had Callan here to talk about this.
Yes.
We need Callan for Padres stuff.
Oh, yeah, we do, for sure.
So, for the Padres, their offense hasn't really lived up to expectations early in the season, but I do think that they'll pick it up when the season goes along.
The Padres, I think the Padres are, they've started slow, but I'm not worried about them. But, Laurel, here's who I'm worried about. San Francisco.
Why should you be worried about the San Francisco Giants?
Because they were, 81-81 last year after winning 107 games. And, Gabe Kapler, everybody thought he was going to be the next great manager after they won 107 games. And now the Giants are 11-17. They're on a 4-game losing streak right now. And I live in the Bay Area, so I hear a lot of Giant stuff. And there's talks that Gabe Kapler could be removed as manager if this Giants streak, this losing skid continues. And I think the Giants, I don't know what's wrong with them. They're there's a lot of injuries, obviously, but their guys are just not pitching right now. Webb gets rode again and again. Then you have the other guys that are just very inconsistent. And I think for the Giants, you should be worried because they lost again to the Astros without without Verlander and the other without Verlander. But the Giants. Crawford's on the injured list. Yastrzemski's on the injured list. They're just so injured right now, and when the guys on the field, they're just not playing well. Joey Bart, who was having a good start to the season, he is injured, and it's just been for the Giants, just very disappointing. And I think for San Francisco, they need to figure something out, or else it's going to be a long season for the Giants.
You're right, man. It is going to be a long season. I mean, the Giants, Gabe Kapler, to me, is really not that good of a manager. I mean, he's just a puppet to Farhan Zaidi.
When he was in Philly, we had one nickname for him, and that nickname was Human Robot, because that's what he literally was. He was a human robot. The guy doesn't manage with his gut. He doesn't manage with his eyes. He manages based on the analytics. He manages based on the book. And, that's why Philly fans were very upset with him, because they always wanted him to, be emotional and motivate the team, but he never did it because he just managed managed based on the book. And I think that he needs, like, right now the Giants are struggling. He needs to show some fire in the dugout, and I don't know if he has that in him to be able to turn this around.
Yeah, I mean, I think I said since he's taken over as the Giants manager, I think he's just been a puppet to Farhan Zaidi because they just know each other from the Dodger days.
Yeah, I agree.
And do I think he's the right fit in San Francisco? I don't really think so. But there's spots there, like Crawford just went on the injured list. I think he was starting to heat up. Jock Peterson is kind of streaky. He can't hit lefties. That's the thing about Jock Peterson.
Well, Jock Peterson's been, like, pretty good, I'll say, like, this season. He homered tonight, his third of the year. But yeah, like, the Giants, they've had so many injuries and they've just been inconsistent.
You're right about that, but I don't think they're a team that is going to be a seller at the deadline. They're not going to blow up their whole team.
Well, they have a lot of. Well, Crawford's a free agent at the end of the season. Michael Conforto's got a player option at the end of the season. Like, it depends it depends on the record. If they're sitting at 500, no. But if they're, like, 6 games out of 500, and then I could see them blowing up their team.
I don't really agree with that because I don't really think they have enough prospect capital to do big trades.
No, they're not going to trade for anyone. They're not going to, like, trade for anyone. I think they're going to trade their team and get prospects in return. I'm worried about Gabe Kapler. I could see him, like, being let go, if the Giants are, let's say, like, 11-21 in a week.
Yeah, it really could happen. You never know.
Yeah,
like,
major disappointment.
I don't think Arizona's going to take a step back based on how I've seen them play.
Yeah, and I mean the Giants are, the Giants are what, 4th right now behind Arizona.
Yeah, they're 4th behind Arizona.
Yeah. I mean, the Bay Area's baseball teams have just been complete crap. They've
been a mess. I think the A's have been a complete crap show.
Yeah, the A's are complete. Like, the A's are a disgrace. And then you have
the A's are going to be moving to Las Vegas, and I think they're going to. I feel like the A's, when they move to Las Vegas, I think they're going to make more fans there.
It depends on the owner wants to spend. That's the thing. It all depends on him. Depends on the owner.
I think the owner of the A's and whoever moves the A's to Vegas, whoever that owner is, I think they want to spend. I wonder who's going to own the team in Vegas. That's not going to be the ownership group they have now with John Fisher, and I would want to see John Fisher sell them.
Well, I mean, like, the A's are just having a bad run with it right now. Kotsay, I mean, the guy.
Kotsay's a puppet.
Kotsay is a puppet. Yeah, I feel bad for him because he doesn't have any talent to work with, but also he makes some really dumb moves. Like, I mean, the other day they were up by 1 run, and the pitcher was really doing well, Waldachuk, and he ended up pulling him, and then the reliever ended up giving up a couple of runs, and the A's
If you
lost.
look at who's I think is going to be on the move for the A's at the deadline, I would honestly move Trevor May. I love his velocity, and maybe I would want him on the Dodgers.
You know who's going to be moved? Brent Rooker right now, hitting 353, 9 home runs, 24 RBIs. If he keeps it going, there's no doubt he's going to be moved at the deadline.
The next A I want to see moved, Isaiah, is Ramon Laureano.
No, he's not even off to a great start either right now. Like the guy,
man.
yeah, he's not off to a good start.
That guy, I thought the A's front office was gonna once they unloaded on Chapman and Olsen. I thought they were gonna do I thought Laureano was next.
It might be Rooker. Honestly, Rooker's having a way better year right now. He's like the next good find for the A's.
And Blackburn too, I think, is their ace of the starting staff.
Well, Blackburn's hurt right now. He's got like a shoulder, which is very, very not good for the A's.
I know that. I know it's not good for them, but But you talk about what country I want to see in the MLB play their games in. The next country besides Mexico City, I would like to see them play in the city of Paris.
Really? Wow.
I say that because I would like to see the game involved internationally, like not only in London.
I agree.
I want two games in Europe and then one game in Mexico City every year. And then, of course, the Field of Dreams game, which is not going to be this year. I expect that to be back next year.
I want to see it being played in Japan. You know, baseball is huge in Japan, and I know that if there was like a lot of MLB games in Japan, it would be electric. It would be amazing. It would be a great atmosphere, and it would be like, the Super Bowl for the Japanese people. And I think that would be such a great environment to play in. It would be, so loud and so electric, and I think players would have a lot of fun playing in Japan if they ever put a game or 2 games in Japan.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about that. But it's talking about rivalry week here in the MLB. I think the best rivalry in baseball, who do I think it is right now? Despite what the records are, it's still Yankees and Red Sox.
Yes, but it's also Giants Dodgers. You cannot, no matter the record, Giants Dodgers always produces some great moments, like fights, great games, walk-offs. Like Giants Dodgers will always be the best rivalry, but in terms of I think for me, I want to see Yankees Dodgers actually have a rivalry. I think that that would be a great. It would be like Lakers Celtics.
West Coast rivalry.
Yeah, East Coast, West Coast, exactly. But a lot of these aren't really like a lot of big rivals. Like you look at like on rivalry week, you have like Astros, Mariners. I don't really think that that's a rivalry, but it's not really like it hasn't been a epic rivalry. Like Yankees Rays is a one that I'm looking forward to during this.
The Rays. Who was going to beat the Rays? I don't think anybody's going to beat the Rays, quite honestly.
You also have Dodgers Padres. That's another one.
Oh, I can't wait for that. But I think
it's going to be great.
Well, we got to play a game called Panic and Patience for these non-playoff teams. Start with the Cardinals. I mean, they're 10-19 right now. Shall we still be patient with them?
They're 10-19.
Yes.
I think you have to. I think you have to. There's a lot of guys injured right now, and their starting staff is inconsistent as heck right now. But I do trust the Cardinals to be able to turn it around. Their division is not very tough right now. Like you have the Cubs, you have the Brewers, the Reds are awful, but the Cardinals are dead last. They're 10 games. They're gonna turn it around. I guarantee you that they're not
I
gonna
think
be.
the Cardinals are going to be in the playoffs. Right now they're 10-19, and the Reds. I
They
still
have so
expect
much talent.
Was that?
The Cardinals have a lot of talent to not turn it around.
Well, I think the Reds are going to be in last. I think the NL Central's turned out to be a really good division. But you talk about the Pirates just extending Brian Reynolds to a big deal here, and then you also talk about Milwaukee's still good. But you know what? I think it's going to be a 4-team race for the Central.
Well, the Cardinals better start turning it around now because they cannot get deeper and deeper and deeper behind those other teams in that division if they want to make a run. You cannot be 15 games back if you really want to make a legit run. So I think
I believe in them. I still believe in the Cardinals. There a lot of guys are hurt right now, but you know what? When they get Wainwright back from injury, and then when they get Wainwright back, and and then their bullpen starts to put it together, then I think the Cardinals will be good. I just think this team right now is too good to be 10-19, but I'm not really too worried about them right now.
I'm not panicking on them. I'll give them patience.
Yeah, and then a panic or patience here. We'll go with the Seattle Mariners. They're 12-16 right now. I'm going to still be patient with them because this team has a lot of talent. But you know what? At some point, the Angels are going to fall. I think Seattle will rise once the Angels kind of get their record to dip.
For me, I'm going to panic just because their offense outside of Jarrett Kelenic is trash right now.
Or J-Rod.
Yeah, J-Rod's not even off to a good start either. He's been all right for the Mariners.
And then I like the Teoscar Hernandez pickup too.
Yeah, but J-Rod's hitting 239. He's got only like 5 home runs on the season. He's got to definitely get hot and get it together. But that division is also tough. You got the Rangers who are playing great baseball.
And the Astros too are starting to pick it up.
They are, and then
a really bad start.
Yeah, and then you have, the Angels are there, but I think they're going to fall eventually, like you said. But it's the AL. Like I don't think the Mariners are going to win the division, so they're going to have to.
They're not going to win the division. Though. No. I still think the Mariners can get over that 12-16 start that they have. Look last year. I mean, they were off to a bad start, but you know what happened? They
turned it around.
They got better as the season goes along.
They turned it around. But I think that they need to start now because they're falling deeper in the AL wildcard race.
You know what? That's a team that I'm gonna be patient with because this team is too talented. I like the starting staff. The bullpen I think is good. But why are you saying that the offense of the Mariners, aside from Kelenic, everybody else is trash?
Because everybody's hitting under 220 right now. Julio Rodriguez is hitting 239. But outside of that, everybody's just struggling right now in their starting lineup. The guys like Ty France is struggling. Guys like Eugenio Suarez, Cal Raleigh, J.P. Crawford, they're all struggling right now. And I think it's also the bullpen that has issues, for Seattle. Trevor Gott is good. The guys that they have, they're decent, but it's their offense. They're always getting either shut out or only scoring 1 or 2 runs. And in the American League, you can't only score 1 or 2 runs and expect to win ball games.
Well, we got to talk about the Guardians. They're 14-15 right now. They're in a second place. Would you panic on them? Would you be patient with them? I'm going to be patient with the Guardians. This is a team that won the division last year. I still think they're going to win the division again. I really like how Terry Francona is guiding this young team. And I've said it from the get-go. The Guardians have a fun young team. And you know what? The Minnesota Twins are playing their best baseball right now. But I think the Guardians will still have a chance. I think the Guardians are still going to make the playoffs.
I'm patient with the Guardians. The Guardians are only 3 games back. I think they're going to get their act together and then end up putting on a great run and winning the division. I don't really believe in the Twins right now. And the Guardians, they have a lot of their pitchers who are just cold right now, but I believe that they're going to turn it around. And with that offense led by Jose Ramirez and the bats that they have there, and Terry Francona, a great championship winning manager. I expect them to turn it around, and they're going to be in the playoff race when it's all said and done.
Well, we also have to talk about here. The Tigers are 10-17, and you know what? If the Tigers are 3-7 in their last 10 games or so, I think that's a team that could be definitely waking some people up.
I like Detroit. I think the Detroit Tigers have some really good young talent, like Spencer
Torkelson, and then you got Casey Mize when he gets healthy.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have Matt Vierling and Nate Mitcon, who's off to rough starts, but I think they'll bounce back. But Detroit has a really tough schedule right now. They got
if you have a tough schedule, then there's nothing you can really do about it. I believe in what AJ Hinch is going to do there and build in Detroit, but it's going to take some time.
It will. That's why I don't think I think Detroit can maybe get a wild card, but they have a really tough schedule right now. Like you look at it, Mets, Cardinals, Guardians, then you got, the Mariners, who we just talked about, Pittsburgh. Like they got a really, really tough schedule, and I think they could fall further and further behind once they get to, the third week of May.
The White Sox is a team that I'm not really worried about right now. I think that when they get guys healthy, then I really think that I'll believe in the White Sox.
Are the White Sox the next team on the game?
Yeah, I'm just talking about the division, but for the White Sox, I'm patient with them.
For the White Sox, I'm the opposite of you. I'm panicking because the Chicago White Sox, they have a lot of talent, but here's why. They don't have any chemistry. Everybody just seems like, that they don't really either they don't care about the game or they just don't like interacting with the other guys. Like they don't have any chemistry. This year, Luis Robert hit a little ground ball to the pitcher, and he didn't even run it out. He walked it, and he got benched the following inning. That just shows me that you have bad work ethic and you don't want it. And the other guys like Hendricks, I know he's got thankfully he's cancer free. That's a great sign, but the White Sox, their bullpen is one of the worst bullpens in all of baseball right now. Kendall Graveman is struggling big time. Joe Kelly is struggling. He's at a 6.26 ERA. They're hitting, but they're also blowing games. And if they want to have a chance at competing, Hendricks got to come back as soon as possible.
And then your pick to win the AL Central is not looking good. The Royals are 7-22. I've said it from the get-go. The Royals are not going to go anywhere right now. They're in a rebuild right now.
The Royals are breaking my heart, Loro. They are definitely underperforming. Bobby Witt Jr. looks like a stud, but other than that, that's it. The pitching sucks. That pick is looking like an atrocious pick, just like I did with the Tigers last season. I mean, that pick looked terrible. This pick's looking even worse right now as Kansas City sits in dead last. I like Greinke. I do like Aroldis Chapman, who's turned his career around with the Royals. Bobby Witt, Salvador Perez, but their pitching staff, other than Greinke, is just bad right now. Brady Singer is very inconsistent. And just the other guys, they're all just really inconsistent.
Now we got to talk about the panic or patience game with the New York Yankees. I'm going to be patient with them because even though they're 15-15, once they get everybody back from the injured list, then the Yankees are going to be back in full throttle.
I'm the same with you. I'm patient with the Yankees. There are too many injuries. They got a very talented team. They're missing basically half their ball club right now. Once they get their guys back, they're going to turn it around. But I do think New York needs to add another big bat to the lineup after those guys get back from their injuries.
You know, you got to talk about a team that really picked up where they left off from last year is the Baltimore Orioles.
Yes, yes.
That I think they're not going to slow down.
They look good. Their young talent looks really good, and kudos to Brandon Hyde and the Orioles for the run that they're on right now. They're playing great baseball. They're second in the AL East right now. They got a lot of young talent, and they're got more coming up. And I think the Orioles definitely are contenders in my mind.
They used to be the laughing stock in baseball. Like every year, everybody would say the Orioles would lose 100 games, but now the tables have turned.
Yep, and they've turned it around.
And a lot of people were like, is Brandon Hyde the right guy in Baltimore? A lot of people doubted him. And I'm like, I had to be patient with him because at first he was given a bad roster.
Yes. But yeah, kudos to him. He's definitely turned it around for the Orioles.
And I thought 2022 was going to be his final year in Baltimore.
Oh, I thought 2021 was going to be his final year in Baltimore. I thought he was going to get fired after another bad losing season, but they kept with him, and he's definitely surprised a lot of people for sure.
Talk about the panic or patience game with the Giants. Oh, I'm panicking them right now, man. I mean, this team is – the bottom line is they've lost 4 in a row, and I wonder how they're going to be when they play the Dodgers again. I mean, if they play like that, they're going to get whooped by the Dodgers in a series.
I am panicking about the Giants as well. The Giants, a lot of people are hurt, but even when they're healthy, their offense can't hit. Their pitching staff is very, very inconsistent. And Laura, I'll make you a prediction. I think Gabe Kapler gets fired in May. I don't see him lasting past May. I think that the Giants. It's been a very big disappointment after the 107 win season, and they've been going downhill ever since then. And I just think that the Giants need a new voice. They need someone that can fire up the players and motivate the players. And Gabe Kapler's not that guy. That's why people in Philly nicknamed him the human robot, because he was literally a robot as a human being.
Well, you talk about the rest of the division. I think Arizona and San Diego are going to keep up with the Dodgers because I think the Diamondbacks look much better than the Giants right now.
Oh, Arizona's off to a good start. I like where they're at right now. I'm not surprised at their start. They have a lot of young talent.
But do you think that Lovella will get an extension and not get scapegoated?
If they don't blow it, if they blow it and miss the playoffs and finish they collapse and finish second to last or dead last, then yeah, he won't get an extension. He'll probably be let go. But if they don't blow it,
say they finish 83 and 78,
yeah, he'll get for sure. He'll get an extension for sure.
If they finish 73 and 83 and 78 and don't make the playoffs, he might get scapegoated.
Yeah, he might, but I mean, I think Jeff Bannister is going to be looked at as a managerial candidate this upcoming year if the Diamondbacks doing well.
What about Bud Black? The Rockies are 9-20, and do you think he'll get fired? But you know what? My brain tells me he might not get fired because Bud Black is friends with the Rockies GM Bill Schmidt, and they like each other.
No, I don't, because I think it's the reason why the Rockies have struggled isn't because of the manager. It's because of the injuries. Chris Bryant's hurt again. I mean, it's big surprise.
Oh, my God. So you're saying it's not Bud Black's problem?
No, I don't. I don't see him getting fired.
Yeah, he just got an extension.
Injuries.
He just got a 1-year extension until 24. And do you blame him for all of this? No. Bud Black is doing everything he can, but if you have an unhealthy roster, there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, you can't win when your stars are hurt. You just can't.
And the Rockies, I just think they're a team that's just not good.
No, they're not. And their pitching is the big issue too for the for the Rockies.
Yeah, and then you talk about and then you talk about and then with and then you talk about anyways, Isaiah. Let's go to final thoughts here. So, we're gonna get batter up running. I think we might get it back Sunday. It depends on what your schedule's like. But batter up will be back at some point. We'll get that running once my work schedule kind of clears up a bit, and then when I get more time on Sundays and all that. So we got to get batter up back and running
Yes, we do.
because I really think that we'll talk about Sunday Night Baseball, and then we'll talk about we'll also talk about our favorite teams and all that. But you and I might give a little report card on our teams right now before we conclude the show. Like as for my Dodgers here, I mean, great win for the against the Phils. Our offense is starting to pull it together. I really could, even though it's a long season, our bullpen is off to a bad start. But you know what? I see it being it as a strength moving forward. Once we get guys healthy.
You're yeah, I think the Dodgers, they're gonna be fine. I mean, like I'm not panicking about the Dodgers. They'll turn it around. They're too talented not to.
Yeah, they're
Uh
starting to pick it up. I mean, right now they're in first place in our division after a somewhat of a slow start, though, with
yeah,
injuries and all
yeah,
that.
they are.
But you know what? We're going to get JD Martinez back, which I think is going to help lengthen the lineup. Am I concerned about the shortstop at all? A little bit without Lux, but you know what? Rojas is not going to play every day. But do I trust Chris Taylor playing there? Absolutely. But I just think he just has to start hitting.
Yeah, I agree. And as far as, the A's and the Phillies, well, Laura, like, give your Dodgers report about their next like few weeks of games. Or
Well,
the upcoming week.
Well, we still have to finish the 3-game series with the Philadelphia Phillies. And then we have the off day Thursday. And then the Dodgers will take on the San Diego Padres for a 3-game series down in San Diego. And then you got that Sunday night game on May 7th. I cannot wait for that Sunday night baseball game. And then the Dodgers will play a 3-game series with the Milwaukee Brewers. And the Brewers are a team that you can't mess with because
Nope.
that team is still really good. I mean, they missed the playoffs last year because of a couple things. Trading Josh Hader, and I also think did it have to do with injuries? No. I felt like the reason why the Brewers missed the playoffs last year, I think it was because down the stretch they were not good.
Well, you look at the Phillies and the A's. I mean, the Phillies are, I feel like, starting to turn things around. Kyle Schwarber's getting hot. Brandon Marsh has stayed hot. Bryson Stott has stayed hot. Trey Turner, he's been cool. He's been in a slump recently. Castellanos has been a big surprise. Real Mutile's been good. The lineup can flat out hit, but it's the starting pitching that I'm worried about. Outside of Nola and Wheeler, you don't really have a guy that can be consistent right now. So I think the Phillies need to find that guy, but the bullpen's been good. Alvarado, Kimbrel, Soto, they've been really good as of late, and that's a good sign. And Dominguez as well. They've been really good as of late, and that's a really good sign for the Phillies. You look at the Phillies next week. They finish up the series against the Dodgers. Then they have the Red Sox for 3 at Citizens Bank Park, and then they play the Blue Jays and then the Rockies. So they have a tough series against the Dodgers, Red Sox, and Blue Jays. If they can get through that and have a winning record, I think they'll be good. But then they have the Rockies and the Giants, which should be a walk in the park for the Phils because the Rockies suck, and then the Giants are not that good as well. So I think the Phillies get through the Red Sox and the Blue Jays and the Dodgers, and if you could get through that, and have like maybe a 500 record at that point, then I think the Phillies are really going to start rolling. But Bryce Harper is coming back tomorrow, and I'm so damn excited for that. That's going to be a great thing to see tomorrow. I can't wait to tune into that game. And then as far as the A's low roll, they absolutely suck right now. They are 6-23. Their bullpen can't pitch. Their starting pitching sucks. The lineup is hitting. But you look at their low roll. I'll name you the A's games for the next couple of weeks. The A's play a 3-game series against the Mariners at the Coliseum. They're probably going to lose.
I think this is a good time for the Mariners to start getting their season on track.
Yeah, I think the Mariners are going to sweep the A's, and then you have a 3-game set this weekend in Kansas City. I think the A's will probably maybe win 2 or 3 because the Royals suck as well. And then you have a 3-game series in the Bronx next week against the New York Yankees, and the A's are going to get swept. They're going to get swept in that series.
They're going to be like the Reds from last year, though.
Yeah, they will be. I think in the
Reds, they're better than the A's, but I think the Reds are going to finish last in their division.
I think the A's are about to go 1-8 in the next 9 games.
Oh man,
be like
be ready to take a nap after those games.
Well, after that they got the Rangers. They got the Rangers for a 4-game series. So
and when do you work at the Coliseum again?
Next week, Thursday, I think the 11th, starting at the 11th, when Texas comes into town with Bruce Bochy.
Oh, is that a game you wanted to do? Because
yes.
You like Bochy. You want to see Corey Seager from up close. You got to send me a picture if you see Corey Seager from up close.
Is he even coming back? Because I know he's like missing a few. He's on
if he travels with the team, send me a picture of him in the clubhouse. I'd want to see.
Right.
I love Corey Seager.
All right.
But Simeon is a guy I still think is really good. And I did think I predicted a turnaround for the Rangers once Bruce Bochy took over.
But Laura, I'll tell you this about the A's. Watch out for Brent Rooker. This guy's lighting it up right now. He seems like he's found his footing, and I think that, he's going to be one of the best power bats on the trade market.
My final thoughts is that it was a great show, man, and now that the draft is over, we can start outlining our division picks for the upcoming NFL season. And you and I pretty much are on the same page with the Jags now.
Yes, we are. And to the folks out there that are wondering, we're probably not going to have another extra point show until when? Not till like August before the NFL season begins.
Yeah,
exactly. We're not going to extra point will be on the shelf until August. But Batter Up will be coming back probably sometime in the next couple of weeks on a Sunday.
Yeah, most likely on a Sunday. So for Isaiah Loro signing off for now, Ben and Steven, if you want who are, thank you for making the show great, and we'll leave you that. Isaiah, go ahead and play the intro and outro.
But I said, if you gave me Mahomes, if you gave me Lamar Jackson with his great legs and Mahomes' great arm, or you gave me Baker Mayfield, who would I want? I would want Baker Mayfield, and the reason why is because Baker Mayfield.
I really think that now this is the worst case scenario for the San Francisco 49ers, is that they're going to have to cut ties with Jimmy Garoppolo if I were them.
What? Oh my God! Whoa, man!
In any event, Kyle Gibson is definitely my NL Cy Young Award winner. Rock on, Gibson. And even
no way!
Oh my God!